My parents want me to worship my sister. Kelsey got a standing ovation at dinner when she made honor roll. I got "That's nice, honey" before they went back to asking about her day. She got into private college, and they threw a party with 50 people. I got into state school, and my dad handed me $200 without looking up. She drove a newer Mazda they bought her. I drove my grandma's old Corolla with busted AC. Every achievement Kelsey had got framed on the wall. Everything I did disappeared into silence. I figured once I graduated, I'd just distance myself and build my own life. Then last March, my mom asked me to grab tax documents from my dad's office. I opened the filing cabinet and saw a folder with my name and education fund on it. Inside were bank statements going back 8 years, deposits from my grandparents, birthday money, checks from relatives. The account had hit almost $90,000 by the time I was 16. The statements showed regular withdrawals starting my sophomore year of high school. $5,000 here, $8,000 there. By graduation, it was down to $12,000. By my second year of college, it was empty. I was working at Target while taking classes, drowning in $40,000 of student loans. Kelsey had 0 loans, a nice car, vacations twice a year, and a nice apartment. I took pictures of everything, every statement, every withdrawal. Then I put the folder back and went downstairs. That night, I watched my parents fawn over Kelsey's internship interview. I ate my pasta and smiled and said nothing. I spent 2 months planning. If I confronted them privately, they'd deny it or gaslight me. I needed witnesses. Kelsey got engaged in May to her boyfriend Austin, who came from money. My parents lost their minds and started planning a huge engagement party for June. They rented a tent, hired caterers, invited 70 people. My mom posted about it constantly. I offered to help set up. My mom seemed surprised I was being so helpful. I told her I was really happy for Kelsey. The party was on a Saturday. Everyone showed up, including my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and Austin's whole family. Everyone dressed nice, drinking wine, eating appetizers. My parents were glowing. I waited until my dad clinked his glass to make a toast. Everyone went quiet. He talked about how proud he was of Kelsey, how she'd accomplished so much, how they'd raised her right. People smiled and nodded. My mom cried happy tears. When he finished, I raised my glass. I'd like to say something too. I pulled out my phone. I want everyone to know how my parents made Kelsey's success possible. My grandparents and relatives put almost $90,000 into a college fund for me. Starting when I was 16, my parents withdrew all of it. Kelsey's tuition, her car, her spring breaks, her apartment, my money. The backyard went dead silent. Meanwhile, I worked retail and took out $40,000 in loans because you told me we couldn't afford to help me. I have every bank statement right here. My grandma stood up. Jim, is this true? We gave that money specifically for her education. I'm forwarding the documents to Grandpa's email right now, I said. I hit send on emails I'd already prepared. My uncle pulled out his phone. So did my grandpa. You stole from me to bankroll Kelsey's lifestyle. You made me feel worthless my entire life when you literally stole my future to build hers. I'm done with all of you. I walked out, got in my car, and drove 3 hours home. My phone blew up within the hour. Kelsey called crying, saying she didn't know. My mom begged me to come back. My dad said I'd humiliated them over a misunderstanding. I blocked all of them. My grandpa called the next morning. I'm getting a lawyer. That was theft. 2 uncles said the same thing. Turns out it was legally fraud. My grandparents filed a lawsuit. My parents had to take out a loan to start paying it back. Kelsey's engagement fell apart 3 weeks later. Austin called it off. 4 months later, I haven't spoken to any of them. My mom sent a letter full of excuses about how investing in Kelsey would benefit the whole family. My grandparents are helping me pay down my loans as restitution comes through. I got a better job last month, and I don't have to pretend being invisible was normal anymore. I'm glad my sister stole my boyfriend. He gave her an STD. I found real love while she faced an incurable disease. She is now crying in regret. My sister Leah and I were close growing up. We shared a room until I was 16, told each other everything, and promised we'd always have each other's backs. That promise meant nothing to her. I started dating my boyfriend Chris when I was 22. He was handsome, confident, and swept me off my feet. We dated for 2 years, and I thought he was the one. I brought him to every family event. My parents loved him. Leah seemed to love him even more. I noticed little things but ignored them. The way she'd touch his arm when she laughed, how she'd text him memes directly instead of sending them to me. The inside jokes they started having that I wasn't part of. I told myself I was being paranoid. She was my sister. She'd never do that to me. 3 months before our 3rd anniversary, I came home early from work with a migraine. Chris's car was in the driveway, which was strange because he was supposed to be at a conference. I walked inside and heard noises from the bedroom. I found them together. Leah didn't even cover herself. She just looked at me and said, "It was going to happen eventually. He was never really satisfied with you." Chris sat there with his guilty look, but he didn't apologize. He just said, "We didn't plan this. It just happened." I packed a bag and left that night. I stayed with my friend while I figured out my next move. I expected my parents to be furious at Leah. They weren't. My mother said I should try to understand. She said Chris and Leah had a connection that couldn't be denied. She said sometimes these things happen, and holding grudges only hurts yourself. My father said nothing, which was worse. A month later, Chris and Leah made it official. They posted photos online, went on trips together, and acted like I never existed. My mother invited them to Sunday dinners. I stopped going. I moved to a new city and started over. I got a better job, made new friends, and focused on healing. For 2 years, I didn't speak to Leah or my parents. They didn't reach out either. Then I met Daniel. He was a physical therapist at the gym I started going to. He was kind, patient, and never made me feel like I had to compete for his attention. We dated for a year before he proposed. I said yes without hesitation. We got married in a small ceremony with just close friends. I didn't invite my family. I didn't want that energy on the happiest day of my life. A few months after the wedding, my mother called. First time in over 2 years. Her voice was strange, almost shaky. Leah is sick. I felt nothing. What kind of sick? She has herpes, a bad strain. The doctor said it's incurable, and she's been having constant outbreaks. She's in a lot of pain. I stayed quiet. My mother continued. Chris gave it to her. He'd been cheating on her the entire time they were together, with multiple women. One of them had it, and he passed it to Leah. I almost laughed. The man Leah stole from me had been cheating on her the same way he would have cheated on me. She just got there first. Why are you telling me this? She wants to talk to you. She's been crying for weeks. She says she made a terrible mistake. She wants to apologize. She's had 3 years to apologize. She only wants to talk now because she's suffering. She's your sister. She stopped being my sister when she slept with my boyfriend and told me he was never satisfied with me. My mother started crying. Please, she needs family right now. Chris left her the moment she got diagnosed. She has nobody. She has you and dad, the same people who took her side when she destroyed my life. Let them comfort her. I hung up. 2 weeks later, Leah showed up at my door. She looked terrible. Thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. She was crying before I even opened the screen. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I was stupid and selfish, and I ruined everything. I thought Chris loved me. I thought what we had was real, but he never cared about either of us." I stood in the doorway and watched her fall apart. "You didn't just take my boyfriend, Leah. You took my family. Mom and dad chose you. They made excuses for what you did. They treated me like I was the problem for being hurt. I know, but I'm paying for it now. I have this disease forever. I can't date. I can't have a normal life. I wake up every day in pain, and that's sad, but it's not my problem." She looked up at me. "Don't you feel anything? We're sisters." I felt everything 3 years ago. I cried for months. I lost my family and my relationship in the same night. You didn't care then. You posted vacation photos while I was sleeping on a friend's couch. I was wrong. I admit it. Please, can we start over? Daniel appeared behind me. He put his hand on my shoulder. "Everything okay?" Leah's eyes went to my ring, then to him. Something flickered across her face. Jealousy maybe, or regret. "I'm fine," I said. She was just leaving. Leah wiped her face. "You really won't forgive me?" I thought about it. The betrayal, the silence, the years of rebuilding myself alone. "I don't hate you, Leah, but I don't owe you forgiveness either. You made your choice. I'm not part of that story anymore." I closed the door.
My father showed up at my apartment apartment with my cheating ex-boyfriend and said, "You're going to apologize to him right now." I opened my door at 11 p.m. thinking it was my food delivery, but there was my dad standing next to Jason, who I'd dumped 3 days ago after finding him in bed with my roommate. "Get inside and fix this mess you created." My father pushed past me into my apartment while Jason followed with this smug look on his face. "What mess?" "Jason cheated on me with Haley." I ended it. There's nothing to fix. I tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking because my dad had that look he got when he'd made up his mind about something and wouldn't listen to reason. He already explained that misunderstanding. "You overreacted to a simple mistake. Men have needs, and you were at that conference for 3 days. What did you expect him to do?" My father sat down on my couch like he owned the place and pointed at the spot next to him for Jason to sit. I expected him not to sleep with my roommate in my own bed. The words came out louder than I meant, but I was tired of this. Jason leaned back, spreading his arms across the back of my couch. "Your dad gets it. You're being too emotional about this. It didn't mean anything. Haley came on to me, and I'm only human." My father nodded along like Jason had just explained quantum physics instead of admitting to being garbage. "See? He's being reasonable. You need to accept his apology and move forward. The Hartley family has been friends with our family for 20 years. You're not throwing that away over one little incident." One little incident. That's what my father called finding my boyfriend of 2 years with my roommate. He was supposed to be watching my cat while I was gone. Instead, he was in my bed with Haley. My dad waved his hand like he was swatting away a fly. "Boys will be boys. Your mother forgave me for worse when we were dating, and look how well that turned out. 35 years of marriage. I knew exactly what he'd done to my mother while they were dating because she told me after a few glasses of wine. Multiple affairs that she forgiven because her parents pressured her the same way. I'm not mom, and I'm done with Jason. You both need to leave." But my father stood up and pulled out his phone. "I already called your landlord, reminded him that I co-signed your lease, told him you and Jason were having a small dispute but working it out. He's expecting to see you two together at the building's Christmas party next week." My stomach dropped. He'd actually called my landlord about my relationship. "You had no right to do that." Jason stood up too, moving closer to me. "Your dad's just looking out for you. You'll never find another guy like me. I make good money, my family has connections, and I already put up with your career obsession. Most men wouldn't tolerate a girlfriend who travels for work." My father nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. Jason's a catch. He works at his father's firm, he'll inherit the business someday, and he wants to give you children. What more could you want?" I backed toward my door hoping they'd take the hint. "I want someone who doesn't cheat on me." My father's face turned red the way it did when anyone challenged him. "That's an unrealistic expectation. Every man strays sometimes. The smart women look the other way and focus on the bigger picture. Security, stability, status. Jason offers all three." Jason reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Baby, just say you forgive me so we can move on. Your dad already told my parents we're working things out. They're planning that ski trip for both families over New Year's. They've been planning my reconciliation without even asking me. I don't care what you told anyone. We're done. I'm not taking him back." My father pulled out his wallet and held up a check. "This is your rent for the next 6 months. I was going to give it to you for Christmas, but you only get it if you stop this nonsense and take Jason back like a sensible woman." He set the check on my coffee table where I could see the amount. 6 months of rent that I desperately needed since my company had just announced layoffs. "You're bribing me to date a cheater?" My father sighed like I was a toddler having a tantrum. "I'm investing in your future. Jason's already agreed to propose by Valentine's Day if you apologize tonight." His mother picked out a ring from their family collection. 2 carats. An heirloom worth $40,000. Jason pulled a velvet box from his pocket and opened it. The ring was gorgeous, but all I could think about was him with Haley in my bed. "Take him back or I'm done paying for anything. Your phone bill, your car insurance, your student loan payments, all of it stops tonight." My father picked up the check and started to tear it slowly. "You have 10 seconds to decide."
What's the creepiest announcement your school ever made? It was a completely ordinary Tuesday in October. Second period, the kind of gray morning where half the class was asleep on their arms and our teacher had given up pretending we cared about algebra. Then the speakers crackled. "Will Adrian Wells please report to the front office?" Adrian Wells to the front office. Nobody reacted at first. Announcements like that happened 10 times a day. But I remember thinking one small thing. I had never heard that name before. Our school had 600 students. You knew names, at least vaguely. Nobody knew an Adrian Wells. 5 minutes later, the announcement repeated. Same flat voice, same exact words. "Adrian Wells, please report to the front office immediately." That's when I noticed our teacher. She had stopped mid-equation, marker frozen against the whiteboard. She stood there for a second like she was counting something in her head. Then she walked to the door, turned the lock as quietly as she could, and went back to teaching like nothing happened. Except her voice was different now, thinner. A kid near the window asked who Adrian Wells was. She said, "Probably a new student," and moved on so fast, it was obviously a lie. The third announcement came 8 minutes later, and this time the voice added something new. "Teachers, please disregard the bell schedule until further notice. Continue your current lessons." Disregard the bells? Now everyone was awake. Phones started buzzing under desks. My friend 2 rows over texted me that his teacher had locked their door too, and pulled the blinds, and that another teacher was just standing at her window, watching the parking lot. The theory started immediately. Someone said gas leak. Someone said a fight had gotten out of control. Someone swore they'd seen 2 police cars pull in with no sirens. Every guess sounded worse than the last, and nobody could check, because the hallways were completely, unnaturally empty. We sat through what should have been the passing bell. It never rang. 40 minutes past the end of the period, the speakers finally crackled again. "All students, please proceed with your teachers to the gymnasium for a brief assembly." Brief, something about that word made it worse. The gym was silent in a way I'd never heard it. 600 kids and you could hear the bleachers creak. The principal stood at center court with 2 police officers behind him, and he opened with a sentence I'll never forget. "First, I want you to know that everyone is safe." Then he explained. Adrian Wells wasn't a student. Adrian Wells wasn't a person at all. It was a code. A phrase the staff had been trained on years ago, one most of us had probably heard before without ever knowing what it meant. When it played over the speakers, it told every teacher in the building the same thing. "There is an unauthorized adult inside the school. Location unknown. Lock your door. Do not alarm the students." The whole gym reacted at once. Every boring announcement we had ever ignored suddenly meant something. The principal continued. "That morning, a custodian had noticed a man walking the second floor hallway during class time with no visitor badge. When she approached him, he turned down a stairwell and disappeared. So the code went out, and for over an hour, while we sat in our sealed classrooms inventing rumors, staff and police were searching the building room by room. They caught him because of one student. A girl in a locked classroom saw a man slowly testing her door handle, and instead of freezing, she whispered to her teacher, who radioed his exact location to the office. One observation ended the whole thing. Then came the part that made my stomach drop. The officers said the man had been inside for almost 3 hours, which meant he entered around 7:40 that morning. And at 7:40 that morning, I was walking in through the side entrance by the gym, and I held that door open for a man carrying a cardboard box because he smiled and said his hands were full. I sat in those bleachers doing the math over and over, hoping I was wrong. I wasn't. Police later confirmed the side door was exactly how he got in, but the detail nobody has ever forgotten came last. The man wasn't a thief. He hadn't touched a single locker or office. In his jacket was one folded piece of paper, a class schedule. He was there for one specific student, a girl whose family had moved districts over the summer to get away from him, protective order and all. Her schedule was in his pocket. Her second period class was room 214, my class. She had been sitting 3 seats away from me the entire time.